I'll give you my two main bits of advice with creativity. Number one is they try and filter the idea straight away. So a great example of this was Walt Disney used to have 3 rooms that he used to create in. You've probably heard about this. He had 3 different rooms he used to create his ideas in. Room number 1 was the imagination room. Anything in this room was possible. So all the goal was, when you walked into that metaphorical room, was to come up with anything that your imagination can think of. There is no, forget science, forget anything. Just write it all down. In that process was your imagination. Then, at another appointment, you move it down to a bit more of the editing room, where you start to filter all of those ideas to ones that you're still passionate about. And then the third room was, now let's try and apply a bit of logic and science to see what we can actually achieve.
Yeah.
That, for me, as a mindset, is where 90% of people fail. If I was to talk to you about anything about, let's come up with some ideas, most people come up with an idea and then instantly give me a reason of why that can't happen. And then they come up with another idea and go, oh no, well that can't happen. What you're doing is, every time that's happening, it's like you're driving a car and pulling the handbrake. You're just stopping the flow of ideas.
Yeah.
And you never know where that flow might take you. So I always say, like, we used to have sessions where we never cared about the budget, the logistics, any of it.
Yeah.
Just, and then what I would say something that I was excited about, and then someone else would go, oh, I'm excited about this, and then we go somewhere. And then it would then have 5 iterations, and where we would end up would be nowhere near we started, right? So that was the main thing when it comes to creating. And then the massive thing with collaboration, how do you create a room of a positive vibe where you don't want everyone just to say yes to your ideas and everyone else doesn't get their ideas, right? And it's this concept of, you may have heard of it, but it's big in improv comedy, called yes and. You heard of it? Yeah.
Briefly.
Yeah. So yes and is a real simple concept. If we're doing an improv and I pull you up on stage and I say, give me a location, you might say, we're in a library. Now, as an improv comedian, my only rule is yes and. Whatever you say, I have to say yes, and I have to add to it. So if you go, we're in a library, I go, yes, we are. And look what's over there. It's a tiger. And you would say, yes. And look, that you can never say no. So with collaborating with these ideas, that was our kind of rule.
Yeah.
Is if somebody suggests something, even if I think it's the worst idea in the world, I would never say, Ollie, that's rubbish. No, move on. Let's say you came up with a magic trick. I'm looking at a sofa, and you said, yes. You said, let's do a magic trick with this happens on a sofa. Even if I think that's a ridiculous idea, I can reframe it of going, yes, I like the idea of using furniture, but what if it wasn't a sofa? What if it was a table? And then somebody else might go, oh, what if it was a ladder? What if it was... All of a sudden, we've bypassed your idea, but you still feel included and positive. And that's how we create this yes and culture.
Wow.
So those two things. Don't overfilter your ideas straight away. Just get it all down on paper.
Yeah.
Don't worry if it's a good or bad idea. Create a yes and culture, and then filter and edit in a separate session.